Hello and welcome to episode 28 of When We Are Healed. This is a very special episode for me. It's a full circle moment in that my teacher, Jennifer Hadley, who really changed my life forever when I enrolled in her program 9 years ago, is here with us as our guest. So Jennifer is a spiritual writer, speaker, teacher, minister, counselor, and founder of the Power of Love Ministry. She has led over 60,000 spiritual students to discover the power and beauty within by supporting them to get out of their heads and into their loving hearts so they can be of greater service in the world. Jennifer offers daily inspiration and prayers, as well as workshops, classes, and training programs for spiritual students and professionals. She's also the host of A Course in Miracles podcast, which has been airing since 2011 and focuses on a practical understanding and application of A Course in Miracles. Jennifer has a deep commitment to inspire more than 1 billion people to practice forgiveness in ways that result in miraculous, demonstrable results that inspires many more. And I am a living, breathing proof that when you put Jennifer's teachings into practice, it really does create miraculous results. If I hadn't met Jennifer 9 years ago, I would not be sitting here talking to you like this. I would not be who I am today. I shared about this in detail back in episode 1, the very first episode of this podcast, that prior to discovering Jennifer, I was in a really dark place, struggling for years with depression, eating disorders, chronic health challenges, just all around very unhappy, insecure, and disconnected from my purpose. And I was very much into spirituality and was even studying A Course in Miracles on and off for over a decade prior to that. But something was missing and I knew I needed to change and I needed help. Thankfully, I found Jennifer and joined her signature year-long program called Masterful Living in 2017, where she showed me step by step how to actually practice A Course in Miracles, how to actually forgive and practice self-love day in and day out, which changed everything for me. For the first time in my life, I didn't hate myself anymore. And there was such a beautiful, supportive community in the program where all of us were held with so much love and compassion and in total non-judgment. And I felt seen, heard, and safe to let myself be vulnerable. And all of this created this fundamental, permanent shift in how I experience life to this day with so much love, freedom, and trust than I could have ever imagined. So, as you can see, I am forever grateful, beyond grateful to Jennifer and the Masterful Living community. And I can't recommend the program highly enough. The next round of Masterful Living starts in January, and it's now more powerful than ever with even greater support system built in, as Jennifer talks about in an interview. So if something about this is calling you, I invite you to check it out. I'll put the link in the show notes. So without further ado, let's talk about forgiveness. Let's dive into our conversation with Jennifer Hadley. Jennifer, welcome to When We Are Healed. I am so excited and honored to have you here. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
It's my pleasure. It's such a joy to see that you are sharing your insights and wisdom with many other people. You're bringing so much benefit. I know that.
Thank you. And gosh, I don't even know where to start, but I would first love to express my gratitude for all the ways you really have changed my life. I really wouldn't be here without you, Jennifer. This podcast wouldn't exist without you. And it's so exciting to me to be able to have you on as a guest and to have you share the message of true forgiveness, which has really changed my life. And I know has changed thousands of people's life through the work you do. Whew. So thank you, Jennifer. And I guess I would like to start out by talking about the definition of forgiveness because what A Course in Miracles teaches us and what you have so beautifully taught and demonstrated how to apply to day-to-day life is different from the world's definition of forgiveness. So if you were to be asked, like, Jennifer, what's forgiveness and why is it important? What would you tell them today?
Yeah. So there is a fundamental understanding, I think, that the world has about what forgiveness is. And that first, the misperception is really that forgiveness is something to do with saying it's okay, or what happened, what you did to me, or what I did to you, because this, we forgive ourselves for the things that we have done, the choices we've made that were less than loving. So it's not saying that's okay. It's not saying I don't care about that. It doesn't matter anymore. It doesn't mean that at all. And it doesn't mean that because I'm better than you, I'm a higher vibration than you, I'm looking down at you and saying, oh, I forgive you from my exalted space on high. It's really simply the release of the meaning we've made of things, the release of our attachment to our interpretation of what things meant, even what actually happened. So, just to give an example of that, for instance, let's say that somebody doesn't invite you to their birthday party, right? And the meaning you make of it is they don't really like me, they don't really care about me, they dislike me, they are trying to hurt my feelings, they're trying to keep me out, they're trying to get rid of me, um, they're trying to punish me, or something like that. And that all comes from our self-perception and how we view ourselves in the world. But in reality, we could find out that, oh, they didn't invite us because their grandmother was going to be there and she has an immune disorder. And so they were keeping the party to just a very small number of people. And even though I'm her best friend, I wasn't included for that purpose, to protect the grandmother. It had nothing to do with liking me or not liking me, loving me or not loving me. But if my mind goes right to, this is telling me there's something wrong with me, or they think something's wrong with me, right there, you can see that I have an attachment to my self-perception, and I'm projecting it onto my friend, onto the world. So the forgiveness is really just letting go of our interpretations and the meaning we made of it. And how do you know if you need to let go of it? If it bothers you, it's your interpretation. It's not the actual spiritual truth of the situation. So, for instance, here's another example. You get fired from a job and you think, oh, any number of thoughts, you think, oh, those people, they're so whatever. And, you just hate on them. Or you simultaneously or tangentially, you go to a place of, oh, no, my career is ruined. I'll never get, you make all these interpretations of it. But actually, they needed to fire you from that job so you could find your right place, because you didn't have the courage to quit when you knew you should quit that job. So you might think, oh, I'm forgiving them for firing me, being mean to me, or I'm forgiving myself for not doing a better job and getting fired. But really, it's releasing the attachment to all the judgments and opinions that we're holding on to that are disturbing our peace, and really being willing to say, I'm interested in what's the spiritual truth of this. And we may never know the spiritual truth of it while we're walking around in a body. We may have to wait. So being willing to have trust and faith that everything works together for my good, even the things that seem to really hurt me.
Mm. Thank you, Jennifer. I love that you brought up the self perception piece because that was one of the major shifts I experienced in studying with you. That I was a Course in Miracles student for a long time before I came to your community and courses. And I knew how important forgiveness was. I mean, it's like the whole book is, teaching you about forgiveness. But it was that how do I do it piece that was missing for a long time, even though I was doing my best to do the workbook lessons and all those things. And I just so love and appreciate the way you teach the how of the forgiveness and remind us to apply it to our day-to-day life in the situations like the examples you brought up were such great examples, because there are no small upsets, right? It could be, a war going on at another part of the world, or your friend not inviting you to their birthday party. Like, it doesn't matter if it's a small upset or a huge upset. It's all, if it's bothering you, then it's showing us that we're believing something that's not the highest truth, the spiritual truth. So I would love to ask you about where you were in your journey before forgiveness came into your life and how that changed your relationship with yourself and also the people around you.
Yeah, what a good question. So I don't think anybody's ever asked me that question. And I, so I I started on a spiritual path in my mid 20s because I really, I wanted to kill myself. I was really miserable. And I discovered that I had a deep self-hatred. It had been hidden. I didn't realize it. And then one day I heard myself in my mind say, I hate you to me. And I immediately knew, oh, that's not good. That is not good. Can't let that just fester. And I was very controlling, very manipulative, very angry, very hostile back then. And so this is the mid 80s. And then I started on a spiritual path little by little. I made self love my number one goal. And I just said, I'm just going to focus everything on that, learning to love myself, which was the smartest thing I ever did in my life. And then one thing led to another. I found myself taking classes at Agape in Los Angeles, and this now is the mid 90s. And I was in the training to become a spiritual practitioner at Agape. And then in that training, it was a 2-year training. We had 2 years of pre-training classes, and then we had the 2 years of training, which included lots of internships and all kinds of work. It was a lot of work, joyful work. And in that training, we had to break into, we were in small groups of like 8 people, pods, and we had to meditate and do visioning work the way Michael Beckwith taught us to come up with what is the topic of our workshop. It had to be based on the teachings of Jesus. And in that visioning. We visioned maybe a handful of times, and we just kept coming up with forgiveness, forgiveness, forgiveness. And when it was just like a ringing bell, so clear, we said, okay, so now what do we do? We're going to do a workshop on forgiveness. What is the workshop? So we kept visioning and visioning to get all the pieces. And they just started pouring in. I've got a little fly here, so from the orchids. So the different processes of teaching forgiveness and facilitating people's forgiveness just were coming through me in these visioning exercises that we were doing. And they are the things that I have been teaching ever since. So that's 25 years ago. It was the end of 1999, the beginning of 2000, that we were putting that workshop together. So I've been teaching those methods of forgiveness ever since. And I didn't come to A Course in Miracles until I was in my last year of ministerial school. So that was 2006 that I opened A Course in Miracles and started reading it. So teaching forgiveness really helped me to understand it. In the truly helpful prayer in A Course in Miracles, the last line is, I am healed as I let Spirit teach me to heal. And I modify that truly helpful prayer. And I'll just say the whole thing the way I say it. I say, I am here only to be truly helpful. I am here to represent the one who sent me. I don't have to wonder or worry about what to say or what to do or where to go or when to go, because the one who sent me will direct me. And I am content to go wherever Spirit wishes, knowing Spirit goes there with me, as me, beside me, above me, below me, behind me, all around me, within me. And I am and I am healed, and I let Spirit teach me to heal. So, because I don't want the healing to be in the future, otherwise it never comes, right? So I am healed, not I will be healed. I am healed, not to correct Jesus, but I mean, that was the key point he makes in another thing. Don't think your healing is in the future, your awakening is in the future, because it'll never come. So I am healed, and I let Spirit teach me to heal. And the saying is, what is the saying? It's we teach best what we need to learn. And so I needed to learn forgiveness because I was very, very, very judgmental. And I have the main part of my forgiveness practice is really, if you don't judge it, there's nothing to forgive. So I have saved myself 1,000 hours of forgiveness. Just, I mean, every week, by just not judging anything, really standing in A Course in Miracles neutrality. And it's not that I don't ever judge, but as soon as I start to judge, I don't feel peaceful anymore. I don't feel harmonious anymore. And so I instantly know I'm moving out of alignment and into an attachment, a grievance, a grudge, a complaint, and I don't have to. So I start to feel that energy and the tightness, and then, no, I'm not doing that. It's not worth it. It is not worth it. So let me just practice neutrality. So I think you're going to have to ask me that question again in some way, because, yeah, I'm not sure I've really answered your question.
No, you have. Thank you. And it's so powerful. I've heard you share about the darker place that you were in your life before you made a commitment to self-love. But each time I hear it, it just moves me so deeply, because I would never have imagined knowing you today that you you were in that level of self-hatred, and that also the reason why I've resonated with you so strongly was because you weren't afraid to share that with everyone and be so honest and transparent and vulnerable about where you were before this work found you. And that made you so relatable to me, and I think to many people who are drawn to you. So thank you for sharing that with us. So you've been teaching forgiveness for a long time. What was an example of a big forgiveness lesson for you that was in your personal journey?
Well, one thing, so two things come to mind. One is self-forgiveness, and one could be construed to be forgiveness of someone else. So I was dating a man that um, I he actually he asked out one of my best friends, and I knew him well enough to know he wasn't just saying, "Oh, let's get to know each other better because I'm dating Jennifer." It was he wanted to have an actual romantic engagement with my friend, and she was in a relationship, and so I she called me and she said, "Why is he asking me out? He knows I'm a good friend of yours. Why is he doing that?" And I was just like, "Well, because he's stupid," you know. And that really, really upset me so deeply that he would do that, because I felt ashamed and embarrassed. But more than that, it was an indicator that our relationship was not going anywhere. And I was disappointed in that because I really cared for him. So, of course, now I can see the universe was saying, nope, nope, just say next, please. But I had an attachment and I had to let go of that attachment. So that episode where I had to forgive him, it was really forgiving myself again. But that was hard. I was out of town, and I was out of town because I was going to be teaching a forgiveness workshop in another place. And I did not sleep all night. I was just churning and burning. But in that, I had, in a lot of ways, I had an extinction burst. Do you know what that is? Yeah, it's
No.
helpful to know. I've been talking about it a lot right now because I feel like all of humanity is going through an extinction burst. Extinction burst is, I think it's best understood in this kind of a context. If I say, so if let's say this happened to me, I quit smoking, like the first time I quit smoking, and I was having a terrible cravings. And you have a moment where the craving is so bad, you're on the precipice of, I can't do this, or I'm going to, just have a cigarette. I don't have to just smoke for the rest of the day, and then I'll start again tomorrow. You have those kinds of moments. We have them with all kinds of things. And, but if you don't give in, there's the possibility of having an extinction burst, which is like the craving comes to such an intensity that if you don't give in and you let it run its intensity, it will burst, like a pimple will burst. And then when a pimple bursts, now it's having a healing. Now it's going to get better. But until it bursts, it's just going to get worse. I mean, sometimes they recede, but and the same with emotional issues. But once that burst happens, what it does is it actually makes that attachment, let's say, that issue, that infection, extinct. Another way to look at it as the burst extinguishes the craving, the jonesing, the intensity. So right now, to me, all of humanity is going through an extinction burst. It's not going to happen over the weekend, but it's happening for separation. That's what it feels like to me. That's why the divisiveness is so intense right now is because we're going through an extinction burst. And, it's going to take some more time. We've been working up to it and it's getting more intense. It's not going to get less intense until it bursts. And the way it's going to burst is that the majority of people, like 51% of all humanity, will move into a space of, I don't want separation anymore. I want unity. I'm not choosing separation anymore. I am choosing unity. So that's how that's going to happen. And that's how a lot of things happen in our consciousness. So sometimes, like that time with that boyfriend, uh, I had that night of burning, churning intensity. I think everybody's had at least one night in their life where they can't sleep. They're so upset about something. And it's like you can't get comfortable on the bed. You can't get comfortable in a chair. You can't get comfortable standing up. You can't get comfortable. You cannot get comfortable because your mind is desperately going over and over and over the attachment and making it real. And your spirit is really saying, just let it go. Just let it go. Just let it go. Something great, wonderful, good can happen if you're just willing to let that block to love go. And so that was one episode. And it was so great for me because here I am, I'm teaching this forgiveness workshop. And in my mind, I'm thinking, Mother, Father, God, that, and just like, gotta let it go, release the attachment, the meaning I made of it, my interpretation. And so that's one episode where I of course it's always that you have to forgive yourself and the other person. So I had to forgive myself for deluding myself that this relationship could really go where I wanted it to go. And I had to forgive myself for um not not being mindful, not paying attention, and whatever judgments I had against myself. But mostly I was focused on projecting them onto him. And fortunately, my friend was a true friend, and she called me immediately and said, because it was just a message on her voicemail. And she said, what is happening now? Why would he do that? And so it was helpful to me. But yeah, the self-forgiveness is the key. So once I forgave myself, then it was easy to forgive him.
Yeah, thank you for speaking to the self forgiveness piece because I know for myself, I found it much, much more challenging to forgive myself than other people. And I think
Yeah.
that's probably true for a lot of spiritual students. Why do you think that is? And also, how do you guide somebody in the self forgiveness process if they're having a hard time forgiving themselves?
Well, here's why it's so hard to forgive ourselves. It's part of it is if we forgive ourselves, it's like saying, if we believe that it's like saying, it's okay, it's not a big deal, then we might just do it again. We might just do it again and again and again and again. And we have learned to punish ourselves. So we have internalized this self-punisher, and it's a very strong voice in most people to punish themselves. The Course in Miracles has such beautiful teachings on this. And it says very clearly that God does not punish, that God is only loving. Like God is a loving parent who would never, ever, ever punish you. And all punishment is a projection, it's our interpretation, it's the meaning we make of it. And we do have a tendency to punish ourselves and to punish others. It's very strong, and it certainly was very strong in me. And retaliation, revenge, very strong in me and in my consciousness. And the it is this thing of, how am I going to keep myself and others in line without punishment? I don't know how to do it. Like if someone does something I don't like, I'm going to make them feel guilty and bad and wrong for it. So, for instance, your child says they're going to clean their room and they don't clean it. The parent doesn't go in and say, "Hey, so what's going on? I know you said you were going to clean your room. You didn't clean your room. So something's going on. Did you just forget?" But most parents would go in there and say, "You told me, you promised me. Was that a lie?" And they start punishing the child, trying to make the child feel guilty. So the guilt becomes a motivator to clean the room or to listen to them or something like that. And all of that is so icky and sticky and gnarly. And I mean, that's the world we grew up in, though. That's how it is. And I've really learned, because of A Course in Miracles, that instead of punishing, God offers correction. And so the correction comes in a variety of ways, appropriate to whatever the situation is, appropriate to whatever our thinking is, our beliefs are. And so I can practice offering correction. That's People always say my dog is such a good dog. Well, sometimes she's not the best dog in the world. I mean, she's always the best dog in the world, but sometimes she behaves like not the best dog in the whole world. But people always say, "Your dog is so well behaved. I never frighten her. I don't punish her. Sometimes I get mad at her and sometimes I yell at her. But usually if I yell at her, it's because I'm frustrated with myself and she's involved in it. Like I'm trying to um, get a walk done and I need to move on to the next thing. And she wants to smell the next thing and the next thing and the next thing. And she doesn't want to come and I don't want to drag her. So then I'm like, I have to go. Come on. We don't have time for this. So, um, or I might yell at her to stop her from doing something she'd hurt herself with. So, but I don't need to punish her. Those things of yelling at her would be correction, like, "Don't eat that," no. And that's how we can be in all of our relationships, that we can offer correction. Like, but I think it's so important to look at the fine points of this, because I heard a spiritual teacher talking about offering correction in a relationship, but they were offering it like this: when you um when you do that, I feel this. Well, I used to do stuff like that, but I don't do that anymore, because like if I were to tell you, Rieko, when you don't notice, just like making something up, when you don't notice that I made you a special smoothie so that you wouldn't have to think about lunch today because you're going to be doing your podcast, and I put your favorite things in it and you didn't even notice and you just drank it and you never even said anything and you left the dishes for me to do, I think you don't care about me. You don't respect me. I think that. And so that bothers me, because what you're doing, essentially, you're saying what you're doing is making me think these thoughts, right? But if instead, like, it doesn't need any correction, right? So I don't need you to say anything. It's nice if you said, "Oh my God, you remembered that I like that particular kind of matcha. Thank you so much." You know? And it's like, "Yeah, I went to the special store because I knew it would make you happy, and it made me so happy to make you happy." Right? That's nice to have that kind of a conversation. But if you don't acknowledge me in any way and you leave me the dishes, what do I know? You're preoccupied. Something is going on with you, that you're not acting the way you would normally act. You're not acknowledging me the way you normally would. It's not because you don't care, or you disrespect me, or you're taking me for granted, or taking advantage of me. You're preoccupied. So something is different with you. And I don't need to correct you at all. I can just go to you and say, maybe at the end of the day, busy day, huh? And then you go, oh my God. And you tell me what's really going on. Right. So to me, that's a much higher level of spiritual maturity. And if I feel taken advantage of or something like that, that's on me. I am interpreting it that way. It has nothing to do with you, it has only to do with me. But spiritual teachers are still teaching things like, so you need to tell the person when you do this, I feel that. It's like, well, but only if you're going to say, I feel this because my mind is misinterpreting what's happening. And so if I'm treating you coldly, maybe you could just say, honey, are you okay? Instead of getting mad back at me, like I'm behaving like an immature spiritual student, no sin, no crime, just an experience. And but you can reach out and help me because I'm now needing correction. Does it make sense what I'm saying?
Oh, absolutely. Because you're that template of that conversation of, when you do this, I feel this way, is helpful to some people in some situations, especially if they've not learned how to communicate in a
Right.
kind way with others. But the very premise of that phrase is that my feelings are dependent on what you do. You're responsible for how I feel, and therefore I need you to behave differently so that I could feel better. Whereas what you're speaking to about just noticing that and letting that go and speaking from a loving place from that love for that person, is you taking responsibility for what you're thinking and feeling and experiencing and seeing, and coming back to the truth that whoever this person in front of me is one with me. It's not separate from me. There's only love here, and they're not trying to piss me off, or they're not trying to negate my worth. They're just having a busy day, or what something is going on with them. So yeah, that really resonates with me.
Yes. And if they are, I'm going to plug in my computer. And
Yeah.
if they are doing something to negate me, um, then what's going on with them? They are in need of compassion if they're being aggressively unkind or disrespectful or something like that. Then I can step up and be truly helpful, answer the cry for love with love. And that's what's so precious about A Course in Miracles is if you're really willing to open your mind to it, you have to have a lot of willingness to open your mind to it because it is very dense in a lot of places, but it's also very simple in a lot of places. And so it really answers every potential situation you could ever have in your life of how to bring it to the light. And for me, lesson 68, love holds no grievances, which is in part about forgiveness or all about forgiveness. That lesson tells me that if I practice forgiveness, I'm going to remember who I am, and who I am is part of God. Remembering who I am is the whole ball of wax. It's the whole thing that we're here to do. That's the most truly helpful thing we can do is remember who we are. So if I'm holding on to a grievance, I cannot remember who I am until I let it go. So that became my driver for how I started to behave. So I went from punishing everybody for every little thing to really either offering correction in my mind, sometimes with my words, um, but also just being super mindful of I am the dreamer of this dream. And I don't have to interpret everything through the lens of I'm not good enough. Something's wrong with me. I'm bad.
Yes. Oh, wow. I just love talking about forgiveness because it's such a different way of seeing and experiencing the world than many people are experiencing. And I love that you speak to that belief of unworthiness, like self worth, of something is wrong with me, that colors the lens of our experience, which then leads us to interpret the actions and behaviors of others as an offense or something to take personally. But when that belief, that idea gets healed, then everything becomes such a different experience. Yeah,
It really does.
really does. And Jennifer, I want to make sure I talk about masterful living because
Mm.
you offer so many wonderful workshops and classes and tools throughout the year, a lot of them which are like freely being offered. Masterful Living is your signature program, one that I got to take almost 9 years ago. Oh my
It's
goodness,
amazing,
almost nine
crazy,
years
right?
ago. Yes. And it's a truly life-changing program. And I'm imagining that the program has continued to evolve since I've been through it. And so Masterful Living is a year-long program where you get to deep dive into this work of forgiveness and self-love and so many other tools and teachings that Jennifer brings into this really beautiful community of people who are so willing to do the inner work, to forgive themselves and to forgive everyone and everything, really, and to really, really live the teachings of A Course in Miracles instead of just thinking that we understand it in our head. And I'm just so happy and grateful that you offer this, Jennifer, that at a time when I knew I had to make a change in my life, but I had no idea what I needed to do I found you through your podcast first, and then to learn about masterful living, and then speaking with one of your team members. For me, it was Angela, who's a good friend of mine, who shared with me her experience with the program. And then it was a full body yes for me, and I dove it right in. And it's hard to overstate. It's hard to understate. I forget. I don't know. English is hard for me sometimes.
Overstay,
It's hard to
overstay.
overstate how powerful this program was. It completely changed the way I walk through life. It
Hmm.
completely changed the purpose of my life. It taught me how to pray, which I still do every day to this day. It taught me how to practice forgiveness as taught by A Course in Miracles in a way that was practical and tangible in my day-to-day life. The effects of it rippled out to all my relationships, all my day-to-day experiences, like fundamentally the way I experience life has changed because of this program. And I'm so forever grateful. And I'm so excited that this program is still going on strong and continues to expand and evolve, and that you continue to help hundreds, thousands, tens of thousands of people every year to walk the talk and live the love. So, is there anything you would like to add about masterful living and where the program and community is today, and where do you see it going?
Yeah, sure. Well, I so remember when you were first in Masterful Living and your progress through the course, and how much it did assist you in shifting your mindset. So I'm curious. You mentioned that earlier that you were studying A Course in Miracles for a while before you came into Masterful Living. How long were you studying the course before Masterful Living?
Yeah, so it came into my life around 2005, 2006, and it was The
10
Disappearance of the
years.
Universe that I read, and it was a huge eye opener for me. I love the book so much by Gary, and so I that planted the seed of the the fundamental picture of why the world is the way it is and what we can do about it, basically, which is not about changing the world but changing your mind about the world. And so I was inspired by that book. I felt like I didn't need to turn to any other spiritual teachings anymore because everything made so much more sense to me. And there was a Course in Miracles community center in New York City that a couple of my friends were a part of. So I took some classes there. So, and I did the workbook lessons on my own, although that was really hard, to be honest. I found it pretty challenging to go through the workbook on my own. So I would say roughly 10, 12 years before I started Masterful Living in 2017, I was kind of on and off, to be honest. I wasn't in it earnestly for the entire time, but I was familiar with and was doing my best to apply the teachings of A Course in Miracles 10 to 12 years before.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then in that first year of Masterful Living just accelerated everything. I made more spiritual growth and progress in that 1 year than the 12 years combined, I would say. Not that that was a waste of time or anything, but
Right.
it was like
Yeah.
I was ready for it, and you
Yeah.
gave me the exact tools that I needed and provided that incredible support of that community. And being able to attend your talk every week after week, and it just became a a mind train, not just mind training, but it was really did teach me a new way of being by being in your community.
Yeah. I'm glad for that. I so back in the 90s, I began to pray, let my life inspire people to turn off the television, get up out of the lazy boy, and go be loving. That's what I decided. That's what I would like my life to be about, inspiring people to go be loving. And of course, inherent in that prayer, which I prayed thousands of times, is that I would like to be loving all the time. So in 2006, I set the intention. All I care about now, right now, this year is just to be loving all the time in all my thoughts. And it was intensely challenging to me, intensely challenging. But when we remove the blocks to love and we are letting the love flow, that's where the intuition is. That's where the insight is. That's where the inspiration is. I mean, you know that. You're a very creative, inspired person. But we have inspiration, intuition, insight. It doesn't matter what profession we have. We can be anything. It doesn't matter. You could be a tax collector. It doesn't matter. You still, your insight, your intuition, your inspiration is the difference between living a dull half life and being awake. It's the difference is everything. And so that's what I started to notice was the intuition just started to pour in, the inspiration started to pour in. And I learned as I teach in Masterful Living, just go to spirit for everything, everything, everything. So I really now people will say things like, oh, that's such a good idea. And I'm just like, well, it wasn't my idea. Masterful Living is not my idea, was not my idea. My Finding Freedom from Fear boot camp, not my idea. Like everything came to me through intuition, through inspiration. And so I really moved into that space of being present with inspiration, intuition, with spirit. And I was just saying this in Masterful Living the other day that I was reading A Course in Miracles this week in some section, and I realized, oh my God, Yes, that's exactly what Spirit told me. Look at it this way, and then you'll see it differently. There's so many things as I go back through and rereading the course, all the time. I'm like, yeah, that's exactly what Spirit told me before I picked up A Course in Miracles. So it's not like I'm some genius, because I really don't feel that way. Um, but I am interested in the truth. So the thing about masterful living and the benefit that it offers is it offers just what you were saying. It's clear, practical methods for removing the blocks to love while offering lots of support, because we're even more supportive now, seriously much more supportive, as we figured it out. And we've also, in the year since you've been in it, we've trained people like you to be facilitators, to be counselors. And so the level of people moving through the program faster, just waking up faster and faster is wonderful. And we are really spirit led and spirit guided. That's a key part of it. And since for me personally, love holds no grievances, practicing non-judgment, not interpreting everything, uh, and really being willing to move into neutrality. That's the most basic thing we practice in masterful living, is just giving up all of our attachments to the view that we're not good enough. Something's wrong with us. We're bad. We're not lovable. We're doing it wrong. We can't do it. We don't have what it takes. Giving up those opinions about ourselves, those perceptions, those labels we've accepted or put on ourselves. And then the healing just naturally begins to occur, and people realize, like, I have this conversation with many people every year, after maybe 4 or 5 months of people being in masterful living. I ask them in a one-on-one, I'll say, so what difference are you noticing so far this year? And they say, oh, well, just basically, I'm not as upset all the time like I used to be. I have much more peace. And I say, and why is that? And they say, well, um, I don't like being upset. I realized I don't have to be upset. That's my choice. And I say, so how do you recognize that? How do you know that? And they're like, well, I just start to feel upset. And I go, wait a minute, I'm not going down that road. I've already, no, 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 no. And then so I back off from that, and I let those opinions go, and I really let them go. And then I feel peaceful. And so then my husband doesn't get engaged with me. And when now we're not fighting, I can just let him be how he is and try to understand him better instead of making him wrong all the time. So he doesn't feel attacked all the time, and I don't feel, abused or whatever. So they just totally change their perspective about their life. But the main thing is they realize just what it says in the Course in Miracles in the responsibility for sight section. I am responsible for what I see, and I choose the feelings I would have. And it takes a really big willingness to look at life that way, because you have to be willing to give up feeling like a victim. You have to be willing to do that in order to find your joy. And it is worth whatever it takes to get there. And that's what I know. And I know that anybody who is willing will get there faster than they ever imagined.
It really is. It really is worth everything. Wow. So the registration's already open for Masterful Living. This episode's
Yes.
probably going to come out beginning of December. And when does the registration close?
It closes later in January. We have bonuses. The sooner you sign up, the more bonuses you get. So yeah, but and we start in early January with the bonus programs. Well, actually, we start in we have them in December too. So yeah, Yeah.
Okay, so the earlier you sign up, the more bonuses you get, and I'll put the link to the registration to Masterful Living with Jennifer in the show notes so that everyone can check it out. Oh, Jennifer, thank you so much. This has been such an honor, and to and speaking to you today really bless me with a renewed enthusiasm and excitement for this path of forgiveness and love. And I love that you mentioned that it's an attachment to the self-perception that there's something wrong with me that is in the way of that's blocking the love. It's
Hmm.
just an attachment to a belief. That's it.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, would you pray us out today?
Yes, I would love to.
Thank
Oh,
you.
so grateful to place my hands upon my heart and to be heart centered. So grateful to open ourselves to insight, to clarity, to freedom, to joy. So grateful to have this opportunity to join with Rieko, to remember the truth, to affirm the truth, and to give thanks for the truth. What I know for everyone listening is that we are united in the love. What I know is that the love is real. Love is healing us now. We are grateful to open ourselves to choosing that healing, the expansion, the clarity, the transformation that we desire is desiring us. Everything is for us. Nothing is against us. Our life truly is the life of God. It is a life of love, and we are allowing it to be revealed. We share the benefits with everyone, everywhere, because we are eternally one with them. So we allow it to be, and so it is. Amen. Amen. Amen.
If you enjoyed this episode, I invite you to come check out our Substack at whenwearehealed.com, where you can subscribe to keep in touch and get show notes emailed to you. Sending you lots of love, and I'll see you in the next episode